Hello everyone, we're back with the long-awaited video, or medium-awaited video, where I'll compare all of Batman's sidekicks. This video will discuss who is the best amongst Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, Batgirl, and Catwoman. If you've been following this channel for a little while, you'll know that I have already made videos about each one of these characters and how they would fight in real life, so watch those videos if you feel like it. Also, I know that Batman has a gang of other sidekicks, however, these are the ones that are available to play in games like Injustice and Arkham Knight, so that's just who I'll stick to. So sorry, no Batwoman. Now then, in this two-part series, I will compare physique, martial arts skill, weapons, and one secret category for each of Batman's sidekicks, and then compare their scores to determine who is the best fighter. Let's begin. So physique is important. It's why one Francis Ngannou could probably take on the entire women's strawweight division at the same time. It's also why this lady is appealing to so many, not talking about myself of course.
So we finally meet.
Harder.
Anyway, let's see what we've got. Right off the bat, pun intended, I'm going to rank Catwoman at the bottom, followed by Batgirl. Catwoman is 5'7", 125 pounds. She does not possess a suitable level of thickness to keep herself on track with Batman's other sidekicks. The same can be said about Batgirl, especially if we go by her apparent Arkham size of 5'11", 125 pounds. I mean, a stiff gust of wind could knock her down. But if we give her the much more realistic weight of 155 pounds, then Batgirl is at the very least a lot more physically imposing than Catwoman. The men, on the other hand, are all pretty comparable. Red Hood is the biggest, followed by Red Robin, and then finally Nightwing. The last two are actually about the same size. I would say Nightwing is at the biggest disadvantage when it comes to physique, because he's pretty slim for his height, which gives him less wiggle room for that muscle mass needed to generate more power and gel with his explosive fighting style. So Catwoman gets a 4 out of 10, Batgirl a 5, Nightwing gets an 8, Robin and Red Robin are about a 9, and Red Hood I gave a 10, because at 6 foot, 200 pounds, he is got the best physique of everyone so far. Now let's move on to the fighting styles. We have Catwoman with her point fighting and jujitsu, Batgirl with her kickboxing and judo, Nightwing with his outside-the-box movement, Red Hood with his violent takedowns and striking, Red Robin with his fight IQ, and Robin with his Eastern-inspired striking and grappling. While any fighting style, to a certain extent, can be enough to become a world champion, we have to look at the styles that have had the most success in real-life competition to determine who uses the best fighting style. I figure the best way to break this down is just to go by the big archetypes. Let's start with the most conventional archetype, the one who can do it all, the mixed martial artist. For me, this is someone who blends all aspects of MMA into one style, utilizing what is needed at any given moment for each opponent. A conventional mixed martial artist will utilize a mostly boxing and wrestling heavy style to bring a sharp and steady offense and defense into a fight. They will use kicks, but mostly teeps and leg and calf kicks, moves that will add damage but not require too much energy or a risk of losing balance. They will use wrestling offensively against opponents with a striking advantage, and defensively when they are the better striker and want to keep the fight standing. When the fight goes to the ground, the conventional martial artist will be experienced enough to transition to dominant positions and attack with high percentage reliable moves such as the rear naked choke, armbar, and triangle choke. However, they will typically not just focus on getting a submission. A conventional MMA fighter will strike from a dominant position to win the fight and only switch to a submission when it makes itself available. For me, the best example of this style is Georges St. Pierre, and the heroes that exemplify this style the most are Red Robin, Batgirl, and Red Hood. The next archetype is that of the Brawler. Brawlers aren't quite as common in MMA anymore, although at one time they were kings of most of the divisions. Fighters like Francis Ngannou and even Yoel Romero encapsulate this. A brawler, like the conventional MMA fighter, will stick mostly to a boxing style with some kicks and offensive wrestling. The difference comes into mentality and strategy. A brawler is out there to be offensive and do damage. They will headhunt for the knockout more than fighters who are more conventional and prefer to slam and ground and pound over going for submissions. This is a style that pays off way more in the heavier weight divisions. It is especially risky, but the ability to have that one-punch knockout ability makes this style both volatile and dangerous for their opponents. The hero that most exemplifies this style is Red Hood. There are many other archetypes in MMA, but I'll just include one more, and that is the Yolo Striker. Okay, I might be wrong using the term YOLO to describe these people, but most people who fight like this are taking a huge risk with their energy. A Yolo Striker is someone like Yair Rodriguez, who throws unconventional kicks and strikes, often from far away, with an explosion. The advantage of a Yolo Striker is surprising knockouts that come from nowhere, but the disadvantage normally comes from the risk associated with putting yourself in vulnerable positions and also burning too much energy on strikes that have a low chance of landing. The jiu-jitsu version of a Yolo Striker, in my opinion, is someone who goes for wacky, low-percentage submissions from weird positions, kind of like me, just because they'll work once in a blue moon. I think every Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy has caught someone in some sort of random calf crank while they passed your guard and got mount, but that's the kind of thing that'll only work once against someone. So being a Yolo Striker, it's not really a bad thing. There have been champion caliber fighters that have made it pretty far in the sport, including Lyoto Machida and Edson Barboza. But, the downside to being a Yolo Striker is just you're not relying on the bread and butter, and it's a bit riskier. But these are often the fighters that I find that come in and they rise to the top really quick in MMA. Thinking about Darren Till, some other guys like that. They just show up and they have like 2 or 3 MMA fights, and then suddenly they're in the top 15 because they got some cool knockouts. But maybe that's why they seem to have a lot of trouble against those like conventional grinders who took a while to get to the top because they just have less experience. But I don't know. It's just my opinion. Anyway, most of the heroes in this video are what I would describe as at least partial Yolo Strikers, just because, they're all designed to do cool shit and be in video games. So, yeah. Now that we got some archetypes out of the way, I'm going to assign points to each hero. Nightwing is the epitome of a Yolo Striker. The dude's whole strategy is based off of explosiveness and acrobatics. It's very cool to look at, but very risky overall. I'll give Nightwing a 7 out of 10. Catwoman is another Yolo Striker. She kind of falls under the umbrella of a point fighter, which is someone who is really proficient in lateral in and out movement and bringing a very unconventional fight to the opponent. But like we've seen with fighters like Michael Venom Page, this style is often risky to use and requires extreme athleticism to reliably pull off. So Catwoman gets a 6 out of 10. Batgirl is a combination of a Yolo Striker and a conventional fighter. Yes, she jumps around with a lot of taekwondo, wild kicks, but she also complements it with more Muay Thai strikes and judo throws. Pretty solid, reliable moves, but I'd like to see less throws and more wrestling, so I'm going to give Batgirl an 8 out of 10 for her fighting style. Red Hood is mostly a brawler, but has enough fundamentals to also be a conventional mixed martial artist. Red Hood sticks to simple but heavy striking and also explosive movement. He's different from a Yolo Striker in my opinion, because a Yolo Striker would probably explode into some big kick, but Red Hood would be more likely to explode into a takedown or a Superman punch. Red Robin is the textbook example of a conventional fighter, although he does embrace some wild striking as well. He'll stick to high percentage attacks that don't waste any energy, so he'll get a 9 out of 10. Our final hero, Robin, is another conventional striker. If you remember the how Robin would fight in real life video, I said that given where he grew up and trained, he would probably fight like a combination of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Zabit Magomedsharipov. This is a combination that is just so high level and on the cutting edge, and I mean really fitting with his character. I think in the comics, Damian Wayne is considered the best fighters of all the Robins, and I think it would overshadow all the other heroes on this list, so I would have to give him a 10 out of 10. Right, so at this point we're about halfway through my analysis. I'm going to end the video here and finish with part 2, probably coming up in another week or two. I'm about to move, so excited about that. If you like this video and series, please show me in the comments and in that like bar. I mean, I'm going to keep making videos regardless, but it does make me happy to see you guys participate. So I'll see you next time for part 2. Bye-bye.